What's up, everybody? Eric here, Driveline, World's Okayest Steering Wheel Holder, checking in with you for the video that I promised. Well, one of the couple videos that I promised the other day. In this video, we're going to be discussing whether or not it's a good idea to come drive for Prime in 2024. It is March of 2024. So I'm going to give you my take on that. I've been driving for it'll be 5 years, I think in May. So I'm coming up on 5 years, been in a contract to pull freight for Prime for that entire 5 years, other than when I was in training. And even in the short time that I wasn't driving, my company was still contracted to pull freight for Prime. My trucks were still running. And been on YouTube for 3 years, so it's been a wild ride. Lots of ups and downs. I've seen the extreme highs and I've seen the extreme lows, and I've felt all the emotions that come with all of it. But I'm seeing a lot of questions about whether or not this is a good time. I just had a couple nights ago, I had a phone call. I've actually been on the phone with two teams. One team's been driving for 8 months with Prime, based out of Henderson. I don't want to mention his name. And another team who is a married team who's sitting in, or at least was a couple days ago, sitting at Campus Inn. 6 months previous experience on another carrier, and they're coming in as a team with Prime, and they were kind of had some concerns. So I just wanted to give you guys my thoughts. So this video, I guess, would kind of be made for those, more specifically for those who might be thinking about coming to Prime, or into trucking in general, especially reefer. And hopefully those of you who are already in or just watched casually just for the entertainment purposes can get something from it as well. So we're going to get into that shortly. I'll be right back. Okay, so real quick, so I just did some cleaning, and I've got my smell my nuts candle burning, which one of my drivers sent to me. He sent me this a long time ago, and it actually melted inside the jar, and I was able to get it to go and lighten up. It's kind of just a play because it's like banana nut bread, coconut and hazelnut. So smell my nuts is anyway. So I just had to laugh, and I want to make sure that he sees that I'm actually using the candle. The candle actually smells really good. So 2024, what a year, man. So there's just so much to say here, and I'm going to try my best to say it as quickly as I can. First, let's go back to the COVID years. Now, in the COVID years, it was raining money on the trucking industry because there was all this money being pumped out to consumers, which contributed to inflation, of course, one of the many contributing factors. But all this money was being pumped out to consumers during COVID. There was a lot of savings built up during COVID. So consumer spending was just off the charts. Because everybody was home, they were ordering stuff off Amazon, ordering lots of food. There was a lot of grocery delivery. There were a lot of changes and trends. People weren't really eating, little snacks here and there at offices. Instead, they were cooking multiple meals at home because everybody was working from home. There's 100 variables or 1,000 variables as to why there was so much like churning spending going on in the economy during those years. And the trucking industry kind of got drunk on pretty incredible rates. And I've talked to a lot of drivers who've driven much longer than I have, twice as long or 3 times as long as I have, who tell me that was so abnormal and that we're actually right now kind of in normal. But because turnover is so high in the trucking industry, the vast majority of drivers came in at that time or have come in since then. And if you came in at that time, you thought, oh my God, this is incredible. This is so great. But now you're like, what the hell happened? We're all getting ripped off. It's all a scam. And if you came in after that, you're seeing all those people talk and you're thinking that you're now in the pits of hell in terms of freight and rates. So there's that variable too, where rates where they are kind of not really, it's not a disaster. It's kind of where they should be. Here's the problem. The problem is there's not enough freight. The consumers are out of money, savings are all dried up, credit cards are all maxed out. There's not enough freight and there's way too many trucks. That's the problem. And, I track this stuff really closely and there's a lot of carriers being flushed out of the market, certainly. And while you never want that to happen to anyone, it kind of has to happen for the industry. However, there are also a lot of new carriers being created. So that's kind of the rub, is you see all these carriers and all these trucking companies being flushed out, but at the same time, there's still new ones coming in. And I think I just watched a video about this yesterday by an analyst, a freight analyst. Now he covers container ships and all that, the whole gambit. But he was talking about how because there's so little, the feeling of so little opportunity out in the economy as a whole, a lot of people are seeing opportunity even in this freight market to get into the trucking business because they believe a lot are being flushed out of the trucking business. Well, all that's doing is replacing the problem. That's just, you're not, the problem, there needs to be fewer trucks. So that sort of natural flushing of the system is not really occurring the way it should be, because a lot of people think it's an opportunity to get in with a trucking business. But again, there's so many variables on this. So the spot market rates, I think on the West Coast are like, for reefer, they're like $2.35. I want to say in the Midwest, it's much higher, like $2.60 or something, maybe higher. Texas, a little bit lower. Northeast, not great. South, not great. Southeast, not great, I don't think. But I think it's all above $2 a mile. Nationwide, reefer rates on the spot market. So this is one of the biggest pushbacks I see in the comments all the time from people saying we're hauling cheap freight, is that we're out here doing is $2, $2.20, $2.30 a mile, sometimes less depending on where we're at, sometimes well under $2 a mile. And so you'll get this pushback in the comments of people saying you're hauling cheap freight. Okay, so that's a gross mischaracterization of the reality, because here's what you have to understand. In much, if not most of the spot market, the trucks out there that are running those rates, their cost is substantially higher than ours, substantially, to run their trucks. Now, a lot of them own their trucks, so their costs may not be higher, but a lot of them, their costs are higher. They don't have favorable fuel contracts. They don't have favorable, a lot of them don't get tolls. A lot of them don't get reefer fuel, what have you. But one of the bigger things is a lot of these trucks don't get like the fuel discount that we get. The fuel discount we get, I think, is damn near unmatched. There's maybe a couple carriers out there that can come close or match it, maybe, but it's very, very rare. Very few, very rare. I think the other day I was like $1.80 off the pump, which is crazy. And I see some of these owner operators out there bragging that they're getting 40 or 50 cents off at the pump, which is good and good for them. I want every driver to be able to get as much as, I'm not like poo-pooing anybody for that. I want everybody to get as great a discount. But if you're telling me that the top discount you're going to see is 40 or 50 cents per gallon, and I'm seeing $1.50, $1.60, $1.70 per gallon off of the pump, That's a big difference. So I don't need to get the same rate that you might need to get if you're only getting 40 or 50 cents off at a gallon per pump at the pump. Additionally, with Prime, we have multiple terminals. I'm at a terminal right now, Manuka. Had to get some things fixed. Do you realize that I'm paying 30% less on the hourly as well as parts to get my truck repaired at Manuka? A lot of trucks don't have that advantage. If I need to buy anti-gel, which anti-gel, by the way, this last winter, just crazy that how expensive that shit's gotten this past winter. I'm just dumbfounded by it. I was at a truck stop at Love's. I was at a Love's in Ohio in the dead of a blizzard, and they wanted like $23 for a bottle of anti-gel. I remember, like, just 2 years ago, you could get the quart size bottle of anti-gel for like $3.99 at the terminal. And it ain't that anymore. I think it's almost twice that. I'm not sure, but it's definitely way cheaper than you're going to get at the truck stops. Load locks are cheaper. Air filters are cheaper. Everything's cheaper. It's not cheap, but it's cheaper at our terminals. And you know, a lot of these drivers out there on the spot market have their own trailers. So they're paying for maintenance of their own trailers, you know, oil changes on their reefers, maintenance on their reefers, tires on their trailers. They're paying for all their own stuff. So you have to really take all these variables into account when you see this stuff out on the internet of people saying we're taking cheap freight. Well, we are taking freight for less than what a lot of people are taking freight for, but we're also paying substantially less to run our operation. In fact, I told somebody the other day that this truck is quite profitable depending on the way the week went, the types of loads, the fuel, all those variables, but can be quite profitable at even $4,000 revenue per week or $4,500 revenue per week. And this guy was just telling me I was absolutely nuts. He's like, it doesn't matter if you only run 1,800 miles. There's no way. With a truck payment and everything, there's no way. I was like, dude, I'm just telling you. So he's trying to tell me that he can't make money with anything less than 6,500 gross per week. And I'm like, dude, if I bring in 6,500 gross per week, I'm sitting pretty. You know what I mean? So you got to take all that into account. First and foremost, when you see this nonsense out there about Prime and cheap freight, and here's what the spot market says, and here's what, you know, Prime is paying, and y'all gotta unionize and bargain and fight this cheap rate. They don't understand. They don't understand the model here. They don't understand that we are benefiting in 10 other different ways that they are not. And that's why it makes those rates work for us. So take that into account. Now, getting back to the freight market, Prime is right now, I wouldn't say like excellently positioned, but I would say positioned probably better than most carriers. And maybe that's not saying much, but I'm just saying, like, if you were to go out there and just survey the whole landscape and you wanted to find the safest, securest big carrier where you could land and learn the business and become a professional driver, get your CDL, and go build your trucking business. And this is, look, I'm not telling you all this because I'm trying to get referrals or anything like that. I'm not asking you to use the referral code. I'm telling you this because I 100% authentically believe it, that Prime is probably one of the safest, most securest carriers to haul freight right now. It just is. You know, we have new customers. Our fleet manager has been sending out messages for weeks now about new customers that we're getting big national contracts with. Hillshire Farms is one of them. That's a big one. There's a couple other big ones. And so we're continuing to expand into these big contracts, new big contracts, getting new freight. I was told by a recruiter that they're getting ready to step up hiring to fulfill some of this freight that's coming in, and expecting a decent summer ahead. So now is the right time. Now is the right time. And some of you other Prime drivers, don't sit out there thinking you shouldn't be out there telling people it's good to come to Prime, that we need the freight for us. The turnover is so high, you guys, that if freight tanks for some reason, or all this stuff doesn't hold out, don't worry about it. Like, I've been through 5 cycles now, and on multiple occasions we've had too many drivers and they just let it naturally flush out because the turnover is so high. And it's not because Prime is such a shitty company, it's because that's trucking. That's well beyond Prime. Turnover in trucking in general is just high. This is a hardcore life to have to live. It's not hard work. It's just a hard way to live. It's hard to be away from your family. It's hard to be sleeping in alleys and truck stops and rest areas, way stations. You're constantly solving problems. That's what really the name of this game is. There's more work in solving problems than there is actual labor, unless you're like a flatbed or something like that. Then you've got some labor, physical labor involved. For me, I swing doors and get peeved if I have to drag a load lock back there. My physical labor is like minimal, but the mental labor is pretty damn high. And it's literally most people can't deal with it. They can't handle it. They get flushed out. So don't worry, guys. We are going to need new drivers to come in and service as customers. And just because new drivers are coming in and service to customers does not mean that all of us existing drivers are screwed and we're not going to get freight. Don't worry about it. For me, I've been really surprised that that freight has been so good the last few months for us, because there's just a lot of trucks out there that are just sitting more. Which, by the way, that gets back to my point that I was making about there being not enough freight and too many trucks. Well, the rates are holding, well above that $2 mark in terms of national spot market, but that doesn't mean that everybody's running $2.50 per mile every day, 600 miles a day. A lot of these trucks are sitting a lot more because there's just not enough of it. So we're very blessed as an industry that there's just certain circumstances that have held those rates up there. And I say up there, it's pretty sad, right? Because they could have come way, way down. Considering the fact that it's a customer market right now, not a carrier market, the customer can kind of dictate, like if one truck doesn't want to take their freight, there's 10 more right behind it. So it could have tanked much worse than it has. So I'm more of a glass half full guy when it comes to rates and freight right now, because I expected it to be a lot worse. And a lot of analysts expected it to be a lot worse. And fortunately, it just hasn't been worse than it is. So getting back to coming to Prime, I mean, here it is, March. We've got new customer contracts coming in, national freight contracts. They're very good customers. There's going to be a lot of freight involved with those customers. And we have the summer coming up, and everything is indicating a positive outlook, all things considered. You can't compare it to summer a couple years ago, but certainly it's not going to be bad. So now is the right time. Now is the time to come in and learn, get your CDL, learn the business. If you're wanting to do it. If you can't make good money at home, if you can't find a good job at home, and you're looking for a change up, something to get you some money moving, you want to make $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 a year as a company driver or something like that, whatever it is, like, now's the time, So I'm a firm believer that 2024 is, I'm seeing some of these videos out there. Do not get into trucking in 2024. Don't go get your CDL. Don't go get into a truck. And usually that's people who don't want more drivers on the road. But I'm talking about Prime. At Prime, there is room. the model allows for more. In fact, it needs more drivers because we have to service our customers. And so when it comes to Prime, it's a good time. It is. It's a good time. Maybe some other Prime drivers get mad at me for saying that. Oh well, whatever. I just think it's a good time. So, if it's a decision of, well, should I do it now or should I wait? I would call and talk to a recruiter and do it now. Don't wait until the fall when we go into a winter that who the hell knows. I mean, there's an election coming up. There's like all kinds of conflict around the world. I would not want to be going in. If the decision is, do I go in now before this summer when there's these new contracts coming into play, or do I wait and go in the fall after the summer? I think that is very high risk to wait and go in at the end of the summer going into winter. I think it's very high risk. There's just too many unknown variables, and winter is just, this last winter was tough. Tough just in terms of weather. We got walloped, and then we would get a break where everybody would be able to run with no weather for a week or two, and then a week or two the whole damn country was shut down. It was just it was horrible in terms of weather. It was horrible in terms of freight, and it was a hard winter. So that's not a good time. I'm just saying, like right now, the pre-summer of 2024, if you're going to do it, is probably the best time to do it. And if you're going to do it, consider Prime. We're pretty safe and secure with our freight right now. And there's just a great support system under it. Look, think I'm biased or whatever, I'm just telling you from the heart, this is what I believe. Some people are not going to believe that I sincerely believe it, and that's fine, whatever. I'm not trying to argue or convince them. I'm just telling you that I truly believe that Prime is a good place to be. It's a good place to come. Right now in 2024, there's money to be made. There's success to be had. And if you got the right head on your shoulders and come in with the right mindset to really learn the business and take advantage of even the downtimes to make sure you learn the business, it can be good for you. So anyway, those are my thoughts. Hopefully that's helpful for you. Feel free to leave a comment down below, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I don't normally say that, so it's awkward. People keep telling me I need to say that, and I just don't want to. But half the people who view my channel are not subscribers, so please do if you haven't. Be safe, make good decisions, as always, drive to thrive. I'll talk to y'all soon.